NTL Trust, and today I am with Kamal Nicholson. He is the regional manager for real estate in the Caribbean, and we're going to talk today about real estate. Sorry, not real estate, but studying in the Caribbean, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, and how the Caribbean is, especially for medical students, is a big hotspot to study. Kamal, you can introduce yourself, and we're going to have a really interesting conversation now that it's graduation season, and for parents who want to not only just go citizenship by investment route, but want their children to have the option to study in the Caribbean, specifically Grenada. That's a highlight. We're going to have a nice discussion.
Yeah, I mean, thanks again for having me. We're always a pleasure having these lives together with yourself and NTL Trust. And yeah, as you said, today's discussion would be education in the OECS countries, the Caribbean five who offer citizenship by investment. Grenada, obviously, being a prime destination for education purposes. And, we'll dive or delve deeper into the topic. I'm sure you'll have questions, and as we go along, the topic will come to fruition. But I think from the inception we had discussed having this live, and I'm really excited to be discussing this with our viewers today.
Great. So, first of all, let's talk about our background because both of us have studied abroad. I studied abroad briefly for a semester in Canada and then for grad school, and especially for a lot of Americans who are looking at options to study abroad where tuition is more affordable because university education, especially graduate school education, has got extremely expensive over the years. And Kamal, you can talk about your background studying abroad.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Antigua. When I was 19 years old, I went abroad to study in Moscow. So that was a very good experience for me in terms of cultural exchange. First of all, like going to a totally different country, a different language. I was able to pick up the language, etc. Live in the country, adapt to a new culture for a bit. So it's an experience that I always look back on with pleasure. And then after that, I was able to go to London, do a short course in anti-corruption and law as well. So um, I think studying abroad always helps to broaden one's horizon, and especially in the multicultural world that we're living in now, because things are fast changing, and the world is becoming much smaller, and it certainly gives one an added advantage. I can say I still speak Russian today. If I ran into a Russian speaker, they would be amazed at how fluently I spoke. Like, wow, you speak Russian? Like I actually had a discussion with a colleague from NTL Trust. You speak Russian? Yeah. So I mean, studying abroad is always good. I know, yeah, you said you studied in Canada, and then I think you studied in Europe as well, right?
No, I studied for my master's in Israel, and what was really attractive is it's the pricing and also the beauty. When I was in the tour for St. George's University, one thing that really captured my heart was like the scenes in the states. Many states like Florida, a lot of people attracted to go to Miami to study because you have the beach, you have the scenes. But in Grenada, St. George's University is like one of the world class when it comes to medical school, and they have a lot of U.S. Aspiring doctorates to study there, and it's a very beautiful campus. I know Americans, we love when we're going to university, it's like the next step, after high school to have your nice dorm room, to make friends. It's a whole entire experience. For Americans, it's not just like, okay, focus on studies. It's like the location, the scenes, the parties, the social organizations, if they're fraternities and sororities, the gym and the food, the cafeteria. We Americans really like to go all out when it comes to our college experience and with graduate school. Also, we want to make sure there's like a big alumni pool because who you study with really matters in your career long term. And St. George's University has, a mix of all of that because Grenada great location, it's very safe. You have students from all around the world, not only just the US and Canada, that go to study there. The campus has on-campus housing and off-campus housing, and what's really attractive, and we'll talk more about that, is a citizenship by investment route for families who are into estate planning and have children that want to study undergrad or graduate school in the medical school or the veterinarian school. This is an excellent option.
Yes, yes, yes. And I know you toured the facility as well. You were actually
Yes, yeah, I
there.
toured the whole entire school.
I was in St. George's University a long time ago, maybe around 2018. Back when I
Okay.
did some work with the Grenadian embassy in Russia. So we flew down, and but I think it's a lot different now. I've heard that they upgraded the facilities. You were there
Yes.
not
New
not long.
gym. They have a new gym with all these great machines, televisions for the screens. I'm not sure. They don't have Peloton bikes, but they do have some cycling bikes. They have an outdoor gym space. They have the basketball court. I believe there's a tennis court as well. And it's right by the water. So you have an amazing scene where you can study outdoors and to look out on the ocean. And again, as an American, that really matters. Where you study, where we're going to spend the next 3 or 4 years of your life, you want to live in a beautiful campus with
Right.
great, amenities.
Yeah, I mean, and it's I mean, Antigua has a medical university as well, known as the AUA, which is not far from where I'm living as well too. Maybe on a separate time we could discuss the Antigua medical facility as
No,
well.
this is not only just Grenada. We could talk about also this is the
Yeah,
Caribbean. If
it's
people don't
similar,
want to
but for
go,
some reason in the
mhm.
Caribbean, the St. George's takes the preeminence. I don't know why. I don't know if
I mean,
if
there's historic relevance and there's
yeah,
affiliation, and it's accredited. So studying at
AUA is
medical
exactly the
school,
same thing. Yeah, AUA exactly the same thing, but I think the historic relevance, with how it was created,
yeah.
just after the
What this is
Grenada
what we're here to talk
Revolution.
about, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So talk about the medical school because people simply don't know. That's the thing. If you don't know, you don't know, right?
right, yeah. But it's I mean, if to say so myself, I know a lot of students who have graduated from the St. George's University, and they have gone on to work in the U.S. I think the big thing, as you said, there is the accreditation, the fact that the university is accredited um, to the U.S. So then after studying there, most move on to work in the United States, etc., etc. But then also, um, I think the historical backdrop is also important. Knowing that the university was created after the Grenada Revolution. When the Americans came in after and sort of firmed their grip on the island, and so there's just a historic political connection as well that makes the university something of a wonder. And I even know of people from Antigua who have sent their children there.
Hmm.
So even though Antigua has its own university, whatever, people are still sending their kids to study in the Grenada University. So I have to look into it a bit more as to why it's such. I mean, I don't think there's American universities in any other islands, only Antigua and Grenada. So obviously, given the historical backdrop, I think, like I think we get have an understanding as to why it's such a revered university medically in the Caribbean, and not just in the Caribbean, but from all over the world. Years ago, when I was traveling down, people were flying in from Africa, Kenya, Syria. Students from all over the world were being enrolled.
Yeah, I mean it's a world class university. So um, when I was there and I did talk to some of the students who were enrolled, they were not only the students from the US and Canada, but many students from around the Caribbean. And thank for those that are watching and have asked questions, please feel free to ask questions about studying in the Caribbean because many American universities are getting more expensive. Many families don't feel safe sending their children to study in the States anymore because with international students, they have a premium price when it comes to tuition. And for many universities, it's really a business. So a lot of universities have either dated facilities Um, it's not exactly safe on campus. Textbooks, I'm not sure if this is universal, is very, very expensive. And it seems with Grenada and the citizenship by investment, that avenue for families who want to get that citizenship, in addition to have their children study at Grenada, I believe they have like a scholarship where they'll get charged tuition locally versus tuition internationally. That's very attractive. I'm not sure for Antigua that also has a citizenship by investment program. Do families who have children to study, do they qualify for to study and get like a scholarship? Do you know
Yeah,
anything?
absolutely. So as you know,
Yes.
Antigua even has the investment into the university option. So that's funny enough, Grenada
Okay,
doesn't
talk
have.
more about that then.
Right. So the Antigua has three routes of application for citizenship. The first being investment into donation. The second is into real estate. The third option is investment into University of the West Indies fund, and the investment into that option does give children of applicants the opportunity to study in the Five Islands UWI campus. But the UWI Five Islands, just to be clear, is not a medical university, so it's
Hmm.
just a high level institution that offers a wide range of courses. Um, as far as I know, it doesn't maintain a direct accreditation with the US. It's accredited globally, meaning that they received the British instrument of accreditation since the island was under the British. But everything's changing now with relation to, you know, who's who. We no longer swear an oath to the king, just so you know, by the way, in Antigua and I believe in Grenada, oaths are now sworn directly to the state. So the accreditations are changing as well. But that third option in Antigua does give a vital opportunity for the children of the applicant live, sorry, to study in Antigua and Barbuda.
Okay, and it's what does a campus look like? Because appeal, especially if you're going to study in the Caribbean, it's the beauty and having nice dorms, if it's on campus or off campus. And when it comes to accreditation, as you stated, that you have the British, so not everyone wants to work and I guess live in the States, but with Britain, they have a lot of companies around the world and countries where they do recognize diplomas from the UK.
Yeah, so the UE Five Islands is located in Five Islands in Antigua, so not far from the sea as well, about 5 minutes walk. I do believe that from certain angles they have a sea view, but it's not like St. George's because I was there, which is sitting right on top of that sort of hill overlooking the sea. So the UE Five Islands
Yeah,
is
it's a beautiful sea view.
right. So Five Islands is not because it's catered more for locals. They haven't made it like a direct sea view, but Five Islands is located like within 5 minutes of the
Hmm.
sea. So if you drive not far from there, you could actually take a dip into the sea as well. But the UV Five Islands, as I said, offers not just medical courses across the board and there's full accreditation within the University of the West Indies wider CARICOM system because the UE is
Mm.
located not just in Antigua, as you may or may not know. There's UE Mona in Jamaica, UE St. Augustine in Trinidad, UE Barbados. So it taps into the wider CARICOM
Very
education
interesting.
system,
I didn't know that.
which is obviously globally accredited.
Okay, great. No, this is good. This is good to know. So for those that may want to, I don't want to say hop around campuses because there are some universities that are designing programs where you have more than one campus. You can study sometime like 6 months in New York, 6 months in Dubai, and then sometime in even in Shanghai. And I think that makes it really attractive as we're going more of a global economy where having that world experience, um, interacting with people from different parts of the world, learning different bit of etiquette, business etiquette. and having those experiences. Because these days it's not enough just to have a certification. You need to have that network. You need to have the experience. You need to know how to socialize and communicate with different cultures. So that's, I guess, a really attractive point for families that say, okay, maybe they don't want to go to Grenada, but with Antigua, if you do have different campuses, as you stated, in Jamaica and Barbados, that is very
Yeah,
attractive.
because yeah. So what I would say, if people are looking at university to study for medical purposes, then St. George's tops off hands down the best.
And the
But
veterinary school, they have the veterinary
in the
school
veterinary
at St.
school, yeah.
and the MBA program.
But if you're looking for university that is, if you're looking for wider scope of subjects, invest into the UE fund. As a family of up to four people, you get the best deal for a family of four, the UE fund in Antigua. And it will also give you the opportunity to send your children with a discount to the UE campus in Pipe Islands.
Okay, sounds great. That's great. And if you have any questions, you can leave below. And NTL Trust, we're here to help you with your opportunities, even with trust, and to plan your exit. This summer is a perfect time to explore your options with if you want to live even part-time abroad, if you want to be a snowbird and you want to escape the winter time, Antigua or Grenada or Dominica, St. Kitts and Nevis, all beautiful places. And of course, more and more students who are looking to be more competitive, because it's one thing to study in the States and if you want to go to graduate school, but what makes you stand out is to go to a better location where you'll meet other globally minded families. So it's really a two for one. Have that extra citizenship, plus send your children to a university that's accredited in the States or in the UK, and have a very diverse student body. Kamal, can you talk about the option for buying real estate? Because going to Grenada, there's that avenue for buying real estate because I toured some of the off-campus housing where some families did buy the housing that's right off campus. So that's an avenue. So if you don't want to do the government donation, you can buy property as a family, and then you can even rent it out, or you can have your child live there while they're studying. So, what are some of the investment options we could talk about for Grenada and Antigua?
Yeah, so it's a widely accepted methodology for through the CBI to be able to invest into the real estate options. As you said, you would have toured some of the units available in Grenada. So the same thing is available in Antigua as well. Investment into accredited. It's important. It has to be accredited. So it's not just like, oh, you come buy a house in Grenada and you get the passport. You must invest into an accredited project uh, that is recognized by the government, listed on the official government site as an accredited project. This will give you, with the investment, citizenship. So you get the citizenship of the country, and you will also be able to own either fractionally through a share, fractional share ownership of said unit, or uh, full ownership in some cases. It depends. There's a lot of different projects, so it depends on which project you choose. But they will either be fractional ownership or full ownership of the unit, which you could then resell after 5 years, and you don't lose the citizenship when you resell it. Actually, the person who is purchasing the share or unit from you can also get the citizenship. This can be done up to 3 times.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you. And feel free again to ask some questions below. I know studying abroad made a huge difference in my life when it comes to friends. When I was studying in Israel, I met people from everywhere. And I know these days more people are traveling, but it definitely makes a difference when you're in your 20s or even when you're 18. You grew up in one small place and now you're on to this next chapter of your life and you're meeting people from different parts of the world who have different experiences, have different views. And as the world is getting smaller and we're getting more connected, there's nothing beats that in-person connection where your roommate can be from Japan and you have lunch with some friends that are from the Caribbean or from Europe. It really makes your worldview, helps you your open your eyes to the world that, yes, we're all here, but we all have different unique experiences. And it's very valuable as a young professional once you leave to say, yeah, I went to this university, I had friends from everywhere. And Kamal, maybe you can talk about what your time when you were studying in Moscow and how that shaped and helped your career.
Well, it shaped everything. This is how I got into the citizenship by investment business, because after studying a year and a half after I finished studying, the Grenadians opened an embassy in Moscow, and that's where I was first employed. And got into the citizenship by investment business. I've also
Wow.
met my other half in Moscow at the time, and have two beautiful sons. Uh, they've obviously since relocated to Dubai for better schooling opportunities. But if it were not for that chance to go study abroad, I would not be here today in this industry speaking with you, and I would not have my two boys, etc. Like I wouldn't have anything. So
So change the trajectory of your life, basically.
it's really shaped everything. Um, I mean, obviously, I could, go to the States or whatever. I could go to Canada, maybe also for schooling, etc. But we're not going to talk about what could have been, what has happened, and this is who
Hmm.
I am today because of that. So I think,
Great.
obviously, yeah, living in a multicultural world, it's very important to go abroad and to study. Gives Opens up new horizons.
Wonderful. And even as a student abroad, when I studied, just getting all the paperwork to get a student visa, if you are a client for NTL Trust and you go through Grenada and you have your children go to study in medical school or even study in Antigua, you don't have to worry about getting the student visa and the extra fees for um, paying as an international student. So that really bureaucratically works in your favor if you're seen as a citizen of the country, even though you're a foreigner, and to be able to apply as a local. It makes a big difference with the bureaucracy, with the tuitions, and the ease of staying in the country. Because when I was studying, and most students, you have your visa, and then if you want to stay longer for to get a job, for example, it's very competitive because you're competing against locals. You have to ask if a potential company is going to sponsor your visa, right? Versus this happens a lot in the States because the States still is attractive option for many international students, for many families that want their children to study, but many students that manage to get in the States and they graduate, staying in the States and getting a job that's willing to sponsor your visa, it could be a bureaucratic nightmare. And sometimes you have to leave because you can't find a company to sponsor your visa.
Yeah, especially now with the new immigration rules that's
Hmm.
been set by the new powers that are.
Mm.
I know that the States is becoming increasingly difficult. Even
Yeah.
Caribbean citizens are now being told that we used to have a 10-year entry access. It's been relegated to 3 months. So
Wow.
it's, it used to be that with the Caribbean and Antigua passport, you had a 10-year. I still have a 10-year visa in my passport. But Trump is obviously tightening up things, and it's becoming increasingly difficult. And working in this industry, I see a lot of Americans who are trying to leave America. As a matter
Yes.
of fact,
Yeah.
so I
People want
begin to,
options these days.
yeah. And I know a lot of wealthy industry people, like in America, have made a lot of money, and then they leave. They don't live there. They still have their businesses there, but they just leave,
Mm.
because it's becoming difficult. So
It's gonna be
our
difficult. Yeah.
yeah, our job as NTL Trust is not to lay the we're not politicians, or we're not government. We're just here to assist. and to give people the options. So
Yeah,
um, divesting into a Caribbean university, having a second passport from the Caribbean is definitely a big plus to have, whether you're from the US or the EU or the UK. And I think that's not going to change anytime soon.
great, 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 great. I think everyone today clearly, especially for the many Americans who want those options, see that it's good to have options. It's not enough to have this one passport. And what a lot of Americans, I mean, I'm based in Belgrade. For those that go to Paris, many Americans go to Paris and they actually enroll as students because you can enroll in a French university as a student and be on a student visa. It doesn't matter what your age is to study French. That is a popular avenue that people have done for a long time. So studying in the Caribbean is not just a young person's game. But what makes St. George's University very attractive is because of the history of its accreditation, the beauty of the campus, and they do have other programs. Uh, we just want to put on the map that if you are planning for your child's education and you have a college fund, uh, the inflation when it comes to college tuition has increased exponentially. When I went to university and I went to a state school, it was about 22,000 US dollars per year. And by the time I graduated, tuition increased. And I was living on campus and I did have several scholarships, but I had to take out student loans. I had scholarships. And by the time I graduated, it was about like 24,000. And I graduated university in 2014. I can imagine studying in the US is even now more expensive, not only just for students in states, but especially for international students. So having that option for your child, and you can have that college fund, the scholarships is just may not be enough. And of course, you want your children to be safe when you're studying. So Grenada is one of the safest. Felt very safe. In fact, after the tour of the campus, I actually lost my sunglasses, or I left the sunglasses in this big lecture hall. And I didn't realize it until I was on my way to the airport and I told the driver, I was like, wait, can we go back to university because I left my sunglasses? And I found the student tour guide. We went to the classroom and they were exactly in the place. And he was just like, this is not a surprise. People, if you leave something, you will find it. No one's going to take your stuff. So it's really gave me a lot of hope and comfort to for this experience. It was just sunglasses, but they were nice sunglasses that no one took my sunglasses. And many people say when you go to the beach, if you go alone, you can leave your stuff. No one's going to take your things. No one's going to take your belongings. So living in such a safe country, it really brings comfort. And I think a lot of Americans want to feel safe, especially if you're sending your children to school and not to worry about any type of potential tragedy happening.
Right, yeah. And I mean, I see so many Americans now in the islands, who I was having breakfast the other day. I ran into some guy, and he's like, I just became a citizen. I was like, oh, how? He's like, through investment. And then he's like, I did the citizenship with this guy. This is a guy that is an agent that I know. So I
Hmm.
mean, it's a really small world.
Amazing.
It's a really small world, and when you're in it, so like I live here, I could see the tangible proof of
Hmm.
how the industry is working in shaping things and changing things. But I mean, yeah, just going back to education, I think that nothing has changed if you're looking for good medical university located in the heart of the Eastern Caribbean, safe environment. It gives good, um, shall we say, good opportunities in terms of like for your future work um, in the states, etc. I would definitely recommend this in Georgia University.
Great. Excellent. So we're going to end here. And if you're watching the future, thank you for watching. Please leave your questions below. Send an email to us at info@ntltrust.com. And for those that are watching, thank you for watching. We all, at the end of the day, want options. The Caribbean Grenada, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, Dominica are premium locations to retire, to set up a company, to buy a property, to spend part-time, full-time, to raise a family, especially if you're looking for wellness. When I was in Dominica, it's known as Nature Island. The peace and the reset of my nervous system, it makes a difference. And I think a lot of Americans, we are so stressed, we need peace in our lives. So the Caribbean really has it all. So thank you all for watching, and thank you for Kamal, and join us at the end of this month for our next live. And if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to our channel and have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.